My name is Queenter Mbori, an award-winning gender equality advocate. I'm a multimedia journalist, I'm a speaker, I'm a certified trainer by the Media Council of Kenya, I'm a mentor, and currently I sit and serve at the Association of Media Women in Kenya as the Executive Director. The theme of this year, which is Give to Gain, in other quarters they say it's justice, rights and action, which more or less means the same thing. It means a lot of things to me. One, it's a matter of celebrating the quick gains that we have had over the years in the fight for gender equality, gender equity, inclusivity. At the same time, it is also a moment of reflection to analyze where we are falling behind. When you look at statistics from the United Nations, they say that we need about 200 years to experience gender equality in this lifetime. 200 years is a long time. I doubt that even any one of us will be alive if the statistics are to go by. So basically, it means fast-tracking our efforts, accelerating what we are already doing, putting more effort on women empowerment, women and girl empowerment across the globe. It means coming up with policies that push for gender transformative actions. It means eliminating completely harmful cultural practices and gender stereotypical behaviors and attitudes that seem to, make us fall behind. I think as a key stakeholder in the media industry, having worked in a media house and having led women's network and now serving at a higher level, working at the industry level, one of the critical responsibilities is actually moving policies into action, implementation basically. But even before I talk about that, we have to realize that some of these challenges that we are experiencing, for example, if I can give you the scenario of what happened at the Standard Group, we had non-existent policies. We did not have clearly stipulated gender mainstreaming policies at the workplace. We had a bit of it perhaps in the HR policies and other related policies, but it was not very clear. So when we get into this level of advocacy, I think one of the key areas is to look at structures. What structures are available? Are they implementable? What policies, gender equality, gender transformative policies are existent, and are they being implemented? When you come to the media industry, for example, women face very unique challenges. We face all the other challenges with everybody else. What would I call it? Reduction of press freedom. The industry is facing issues around media sustainability. But now when you're talking about gender-specific issues that affect women, they are sort of escalated. For example, women are facing sexual harassment in the media spaces. A research that was done by KenyaAMWIK shows that about 60% of women face sexual harassment, and the younger generation are most affected. So when you look at such a scenario, the first question you want to ask yourself is, are people even aware in terms of what sexual harassment is? And with that awareness, do we even have policies that can help mitigate that kind of situation? So what we have done, for example, regarding sexual harassment is we have partnered with different organizations, including Journalists for Human Rights, to come up with a model sexual harassment policy. Now, this policy has been endorsed by Kenya Media Sector Working Group, who actually mandated Association of Media Women in Kenya to lead the gender committee. And one of the responsibilities was to ensure that there is zero tolerance to sexual harassment in the media industry. So from that level alone, what we have seen working with different media organizations is that they do not have resources. That's one. So they are torn between now. There is not much business going on in media houses. People are barely surviving. So will I spend my resources working on gender responsive policies or paying salaries? Okay. So with that kind of realization, we realize that our role is very critical in terms of just empowering different media organizations, helping them develop policies, helping them, create awareness, and also helping them in the implementation process and even auditing it is quite a lot, because that is just one policy. Women are facing other issues. Technology facilitated gender-based violence. It's another level, because that basically means the 1 in 3 we were experiencing with the physical or offline violence has now gone to the online space. Now, on the online space, what do we see? We have digital tools that really escalate the harassment at a super fast pace. So it is a complex issue, and when you're about to deal with one thing, something else emerges. So there's quite a lot to do in terms of just ensuring that there's safety of all journalists across the board, and we do this through doing the policy and implementation. There's a lot of lobbying involved, because you have to, some of these issues that we are dealing with, they are deeply entrenched in our cultural systems. So trying to get people to rethink, for example, unconscious bias, where you are just biased because you're a product of society. And then that unconscious bias you bring into the newsroom. So you can imagine trying to convince a backbencher in the newsroom, or somebody who has been around for years, that what you're doing is sexual harassment and it is wrong. You see, it takes a lot of effort. They say you cannot teach an old dog new tricks, but for the advocacy that we do, sometimes we just have to try and create more awareness. We have different forums where we bring in all generations. We have intergenerational conversations. We have the newsroom gatekeepers and owners, the HR professionals, the Gen Zs, and we sit in one forum, and then we just call out issues as they are. If sexual harassment is wrong, it is wrong. I mean, it is against the Sexual Offences Act. So these are some of the issues that we deal with. So we'll do policies. We create forums where we capacitate journalists in terms of just assessing their rights. The other thing that we do is also to teach journalists on how to be gender sensitive in their reporting, because they have a very big responsibility to society. They have to inform society. They have to ensure that society is able to make accurate choices. So if journalists themselves are perpetrators of gender-based violence in the newsroom, then how do we expect the same vice to end? So we also have to create awareness, work with journalists, teach them. There's a lot of teaching involved, and thankfully this is one of the sessions that has been highly welcome, where we teach people how to practice gender-sensitive, gender-transformative reporting, how to be aware of what is happening in society. Right now we are approaching the electioneering period, and we are trying to tell them, as media, we play a critical role when it comes to shaping narratives around women in politics, uplifting them, branding them, profiling them correctly. Because what happens is, when it comes to women in leadership, women with public prominent lives, they're fighting quite a lot, and the society tends to be harsh when it comes to judging them. So we are trying to push for the basic news guidelines and principles, the code of conduct. How can you be objective? How do you ensure that you're sensitive to different communities? How do you check your facts, all right? How do you report correctly, even using new tools such as AI? All these things are part and parcel of our code of conduct. So it's just a matter of reminding our journalists that we just need to stick to the basics of journalism. If we stuck to the basics of journalism, we will not be dealing with issues of gender-sensitive reporting, because it is very clear. Everybody deserves to get a fair hearing. They need to get proper representation, whether they are men or women. So those are some of the things that we do at the industry level, just pushing for policies, creating awareness, conducting education, working along different organizations to create awareness, do a lot of training. And also, the other thing we do is we also resource, because the media industry is going through a very difficult patch. So one of the things that we do around our trainings is we also give grants, so that all these stories that are, however, most of the time are sidelined because of they're called the gender stories, they also deserve to be seen on the front page. So if somebody is torn between following a political story versus maybe FGM story, they are likely to give priority to politics, because that's what they imagine people want. So with resources, with collaboration with different organizations, then we're able to highlight these issues and ensure that we create a safe space for all. Women in leadership, they face a lot of barriers. Some are structural, some are professional, some are even psychological, because talking from my own experience, I think one of the challenges I have faced in my journey was just perhaps structural, because I've encountered scenarios where I wasn't able to move from point A to point B because we did not have adequate policies that pushed for that. Again, when it comes to women in leadership, there's a lot of perceptions that we have to tackle, because the societal perception, the stereotypes about women in leadership, I'll highlight maybe one or two. People will say that women in leadership are not wife material, they are not mad, they cannot be good mothers. Allow me to laugh. But I just want to say that it's a favorite quote of mine, that a leader is a leader. The agenda pushed aside. It doesn't matter. Some leaders are born women. Let me borrow one of my favorite quotes. So you can imagine dealing with such perceptions where people want to question your credibility based on your marital status or based on the number of children that you have. Yet, you see, leadership, I always say that leadership and influence, really, it's not even about the position you hold, okay? Because if you're to speak critically, one of the smallest units of leadership is the homestead. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but most homes are able to sustain themselves and stand still because there's leadership in those homesteads. For some of us who are in relationships and or otherwise, if you decide to step out of your home for a week, there's a lot of confusion that happens in your absence. So for me, leadership and influence doesn't really need a title. I think all you need to know is what is your niche and how can you influence in whichever environment where you are at. Our mothers are leaders naturally. Wherever you are a leader. I always say that I am the CEO of my life, okay? And I encourage young women. I've done mentorship talks where I encourage young women about being the CEO of your life so that you operate yourself as a typical organization with a clear strategy, with goals, short-term and long-term, with a board of directors, people who you are accountable to, with a proper work plan in terms of where you want to take your life. So really, essentially, it's about just being self-aware and also following through with your goals, drawing a clear vision board, having a team of mentors and mentees, because right now we are learning both ways. We learn from our seniors, and I'm also learning from people who are younger than me. They're teaching me skills that I would otherwise not have. So leadership, honestly, is just a state of mind and knowing who you are and why you're here, you understand? Because if once that is very clear, then it becomes very easy to align and to move in the direction where you want to move. For example, I think my leadership journey, it must have started way back from, I want to believe, early in life, just watching closely. I'm privileged to be influenced by a community of leaders, including my father, my mother, and so it was very easy for me to seamlessly just fall into that. And so some of those of us who are not privileged to be in those positions, we can actually just identify our role models, people we look up to. They might know or they might not know. I for example, I follow so many people, including Michelle Obama, Silva Mulinge. I've never met them. I've never met them, but because I admire their work ethics, I admire what they do with their lives, then naturally they have become my mentors, even without knowing. So it's not a matter of privilege, it's just a matter of knowing yourself, knowing what you want in life and how you can influence. You don't need to have a corner office to be a leader. You can actually influence from where you are. One thing that I have realized is that the messenger is exposed. The messenger, in this case journalists, they play a critical role in this country. No wonder they are called the fourth estate. Calling out evils, exposing corruption, giving information about important matters. But when you come down to looking at the plight of the journalists, who takes care of their safety, who takes care of their physical safety, their psychological safety, their professional growth, I say that media industries have tried, but we can do better. For one, I would ask for accountability from media owners, because I believe that is the first line of defense for journalists. This is your employer, this is your home. We spend more than 8 hours at our employers. So if they're able to come up with policies that safeguard the journalists at the place of work, anti-sexual harassment policies, policies around mental health, especially mental health right now, policies that involve the physical safety of the journalists, policies around technology facilitated gender-based violence. Just the other day, when the country was going through a phase when during the Gen Z uprising in Kenya, one of our journalists and a member of AMWIK was actually shot, and up to date, she has not received any justice for her case. We've been trying from an industry perspective, and we've been pushing to ensure that she's able to access full justice, but it has not happened. So you can imagine when she was being shot, she was only wearing a press jacket, which is not bulletproof, okay? If you compare what happens to local journalists and international journalists, you see a stark difference. International journalists are well prepared for covering traumatic stories and protests, but I don't think we are prepared. We are not ready, or I don't know whether it is just impunity or people just don't care about it. So basically the journalist is exposed all round. So if we can collaborate as an industry to ensure that we create that enabling environment, okay, I'm sure it's going to go a long way in pushing for gender equality in the newsroom. Similarly, because let me highlight one thing. When you say gender equality, sometimes people imagine you're talking about women only. Gender is not a woman's issue. Gender is a society issue. It's a human rights issue. Therefore, when we talk about the safety of journalists, just because I'm executive director of AMWIK, I'm not just referring to women who are affected. It's just that given the status of things, it is the women who tend to be more affected. The same thing applies to sexual harassment. The same thing applies to technology-facilitated gender-based violence. It's only mental health that I've noticed from the 2021 research that was done by Media Council of Kenya that actually said that more men were affected mentally in the place of work, and hence you see a lot of manifestation. They engage in a lot of drinking, you understand? So if we can have a candid conversation as an industry to ensure that we have policies that safeguard our members, our key stakeholders, then I believe this is going to go a long way. Similarly, the issues around gender pay gap in this country, I believe the media industry has not been left behind. We have situations which have affected up to and including myself, where the person who your junior or the person you're supervising is earning more money than you, yet you're the gatekeeper, just because of the agenda, you understand? So I believe that if you can streamline those areas, those avenues, we fix our policies and we ensure that we not only stop at getting the policies right, but also follow up in terms of implementation, incentivizing, ensuring that those who are doing well, we publish them, we celebrate them. And those who are lagging behind, we are able to call them out and basically just follow up with them with different stakeholders in the industry, come up with some measures, including not being licensed, you understand, if you do not have specific policies. So these are things that AMWIK alone cannot do. But collectively, we can work together and ensure that we create a free environment that is going to advocate for press freedom in Kenya. AMWIK is the national association that caters to women in media across the 47 counties. We are a membership association, and you basically have to register to be a member. Our registration is annual from January 1st to December 31st. So as the association that caters for women, we were looking for data that sort of gave us a representation of what matters look like from a higher level in the industry. We wanted to know, for example, the number of journalists we have in this country, which organizations they work for, their areas of specialty, the media houses they work for, and whether they have any gender safeguarding policies and whether they are being implemented. So we looked for that information and we could not find it. I think it's only AMWIK who has done, I would call it fragmented studies on sexual harassment, on TFGBV, on women in politics, but we could not really find something solid. I want to applaud MCK for doing the annual State of Media report, which really gives us an outlook of what the industry looks like in terms of consumption habits and media trends. But we were looking for something deeper. We could not find the gendered aspects of the industry outlook. Up to this level, we don't even know the number of women in the media in this country and the number of media-owned women media-owned organizations. We do not have that data. So this study, which you're going to release around in April, 16th, 17th of April, is basically giving us an overview of what the industry looks like from a gender lens, from the eyes of women in the media. And we are really anxious to also get to understand the issues that have been discussed in the report, which revolve around, looking at numbers, regions, the specific issues, sexual harassment, mental health, gender pay gap, areas of specialization, media houses, and their compliance in terms of the gender policies. So we are also really looking forward to it. And the beauty about it is we are inviting everyone, to join us in April as we unveil that report, which will involve a lot of highlights, including recognizing media houses that are compliant in terms of the gender mainstreaming and gender equality principles, recognizing women in the media who have done trailblazers and the ones who have done extraordinarily. It also involves recognizing young women in media, the Gen Zs. We also want to look at the courageous women who are actually media owners in the industry, and to also learn from them, learn from their business models and how they've managed to stay afloat despite the turbulence in the industry. So it's basically a celebratory moment for women in the media, and I mean, you can't miss out on this. This is our moment. I want to say that maybe this of media in women, State of Women in the Media reports, is one of the challenges that we put on ourselves as AMWIK, but also it is a right of every woman in this country. You deserve to know exactly what is happening in the industry from your perspective. So the link is out there. We are calling on every woman in the media to ensure their voice is heard. And the only way that can happen is by participating in the survey, answering to our very few questions, and also expressing themselves, because they say that if you do not speak up, you might not be able to know exactly what is going on. Data is very important, because with accurate data, we are able to come up with corrective interventions. So this is a momentous occasion for us, for all women in the media, for stakeholders, for our donors, for our friends. And we are calling out to everybody to join us at this very important forum. I'm going to give 3. One is branding is very important. The media space is becoming very, it is looking for specialized talent. That's what I've seen. It is evolving. And in the past, I believe we were doing everything. You could be a reporter for this, for economy, for politics, for climate action. But I've seen over the years that there is a lot of value when you specialize in a specific area and you build your professionalism around that area in terms of training, networking, ensuring that you are known for something. I think this is critical for young journalists to understand that cannot be a Jill of all trades in this current media environment. You must ask yourself the first question: why do you want to be a journalist? I hope if you're not able to answer that question, perhaps you are in the wrong profession. But once you've understood why you want to be a journalist, I believe that will give you into your area of specialization, and follow it through to the end. There are very many resources right now. I'm a beneficiary of Women in News Accelerator program. it did a lot of justice to my professional growth, because it basically propelled me and it opened up, new avenues for my professional growth. So you need to identify, build your brand around it. Work hard until you need no introduction, such that when somebody is looking for an expert in gender equality, your name comes up. Secondly, you need to be teachable. Okay, I know Gen Zs are leaderless, they are fearless, they are headless. I don't want them to be directionless. Okay, now when you come to the industry, you need to identify your role models, and then you can approach them or you can just follow their work. The value of mentorship is that it grounds you. You are accountable to someone, or you are accountable to an institution that can, ask you tough questions that can help you in your professional growth. Okay, so with mentorship, I believe when you come to AMWIK, you probably will come up with you'll join a team of women professionals. You can seek out mentors over there. You can be somebody's mentor as well, because there's a lot of reverse mentorship happening. There is KEG, there is KUJ. So you cannot really afford to be your own person. You need direction, because you're young, and there are people who, of course, are more experienced in the industry, and they're able to give you value advice and tips on how you can grow professionally. Finally, join an association. As a young journalist, you need to join associations such as AMWIK, and there are many others. Okay? The value of joining associations is that it exposes you to opportunities early. It exposes you to realities of the industry, both good and bad. And with that knowledge, you're able to make decisions about how you want your to move. So, of course, I will ask them to come to AMWIK. Yes, join AMWIK. Let's partner with us. We always say our members are our partners. Come together, let's work together, we network, we will share opportunities, which are many. You can have an opportunity to sit and serve on a board. There's networking, we give you endorsements. You can represent us on forums locally, abroad. They are endless, but you cannot walk alone. You need to. I wish somebody told me this earlier. I think I would be way far in my career, but join an association. Join a community of like-minded people that are going to help shape your career and will also help you with ideas. And then as I wind up, lean in. Don't sit back and relax. It is not business as usual. You must fully apply yourself. There's no room for laziness. Hard work is rewarded. People who are lazy, there's no room for laziness in journalism. And therefore, you must really push yourself and be cautious about your environment. But above all, you just need to be focused and know what you want and go for it.